Good morning, guys. Twin Cities Peppers here. Today we are going to go over a tips and tricks video on slurry tests. Slurry test is a way to measure the pH and the ppm within the root zone of your soil. A lot of you guys will be wondering what the heck's going on with my plant. Why is it not growing? Why are we having deficiencies? I've been giving it all these nutrients and I don't know what's going on. This is a good way to verify the reasons your plants are not taking in nutrients. So pH is extremely important to plants. Within a certain zone, the plant is able to take up the nutrients it needs. If you're outside this zone, you're not going to be able to take up nutrients, or your plant's not going to be able to take up nutrients, and it's going to suffer from deficiencies and whatnot. The ideal range for pH is 6.2 to 6.8, although you can get away with 6.0 to 7. I find 6.2 to 6.8 is the hot pocket, if you will. So yeah, that's the range that you want to be in. PPM is another measurement that I like to use. So I measure the PPM, parts per million, of all the nutrients that I'm putting in the soil. And then the slurry test will be able to tell you what the parts per million in the soil is. So let's say you put in nutrients ppm to 700. You measure it 3 days later in the soil and you see it's 600. Well, that means the plant's actually taking it in and eating like it should be. Now on the other hand, if you put in 700 and let's say it comes out 700, that means your plant's not eating. So this could be due to improper pH. So this is kind of a whole gamut of these two things working together. So a few things we're going to need if you don't have it already. I have two of these right here. There's two examples. One's a little bit more expensive than the other. Ph meter. So I'll put both these in the description. Ph meters just allow you to read what the alkalinity is within any certain medium. I have the Blue Labs one and Hanna one. This one's about 30 bucks, this one's about 100. Another thing you're going to want in order to do this is a PPM meter. This one's fairly cheap. I got it for about $35. This is Hanna as well. And this reads parts per million within a liquid. I'm also going to need a shot glass. Lord knows I have plenty of these. You're gonna need some kind of cup, plastic, glass, whatever, and then some tap water. Now, this is a very important part as well. You're gonna want to use the water that you water with. You're not gonna want to pH it down to a 7.0, let's say. You're gonna want to use exactly the water that you're watering with to do this test, otherwise it's gonna be inaccurate. So basically the concept is 1 part soil to 1 part water. So that's why you measure both of them with this shot glass. Basically we're going to take this, I'm going to dig down a little bit, about 1 inch or 2 into the soil with my finger, and just kind of loosen up the soil in there. Pull it out and then evenly pack this shot glass. We're going to pour it in here, and then we're going to take water and fill it up to the top here, the water that you used to water with. Place it in this cup as well, and then we're also going to be using a knife to stir it up into a slurry, which is how it gets the name slurry tests. Alright, so I'm going to go down to my garden. You'll notice there's a tarp over it. I have been overwatering and I'm trying to get my plants to dry out. It's supposed to it's supposed to rain this afternoon and I just can't have any more water. This is a very easy thing to do as well if you're not really paying attention. We had a hot streak here in Minnesota and I was watering every day, and then all of a sudden we got hit with a little bit cooler and rainy weather, and the plants weren't able to dry up and they started showing deficiencies, and I'm just using this method to verify that it is in fact overwatering. So I'm going to go down to my garden. You'll see that tarp. I know it looks weird, but there's a good reason behind it. So, alright guys, so I'm under this tarp here. It's actually starting to rain right now, but I'm glad I got this up yesterday. So This is my peach reaper, okay? So it's been really growing slow, and I think it has to do with my overwatering, but we're gonna find out right now. So basically you're gonna wanna clear everything from the top, make sure there's no top dressing that is giving you an inaccurate reading. Like if you top dress with some kind of solid nutrient prior, you wanna dig below that. I have worms in here, so I'm gonna try to avoid those. And then you can see some predatory mites. You can't really avoid those, but yeah. So what I'm gonna do here, and it's better to have drier soil, but since it's kind of wet and I really wanna just get a reading here, it's better than nothing. So basically I'm gonna dig down like this, kind of be conscious of those roots. And I'm pulling up this loose soil here, and that's what I'm gonna use. Just lightly pack it in here. And then dump that in there. After I'm done with that, I want to make sure I replace that soil in there. Maybe put some mycorrhiza in there and new soil just to help repair those roots. And you guys are going to only want to be doing this about once every 3 or 4 days. You don't want to be doing this every day, so you're going to tear up your root zone. So just going to cover it up and leave it how it was. And we'll go back up to the table and show you how to do the rest. All right guys, so another important thing is to make sure you're taking notes. This helps kind of keep track of everything. This is how I do it. I have the date, and then I have like a template on another file that I just copy and paste in here, and then enter in the values here for all my plants. This really helps, and you're going to want to do this just to ensure that you're keeping track and you can see changes when you make them according to what you're doing. So I got my cup, shot glass, tap water, my knife, PPM meter, and pH meter. So what we're going to do here, fairly simple. Take your tap water, or whatever you use to water, I should say. Equal parts water to dirt. I'm just going to mix it up real nicely, and typically you want to wait about the amount of time that it takes the water when you water regularly to soak into the soil. So that should be right about now. If you're using drier soil, you need to wait a little bit longer. I'm going to take the pH right now. So we're looking for 6.2 to 6.8. It's looking good so far. And we're stabling out about 6.4, 6.3, which is absolutely perfect. That's what we want. So 6.3 on that. Looking good so far. And our PPMs here. Now PPMs, I'm looking for about 400 to 600. And look at that. So I'm going to say about 540. And then I'm just going to take these and write them down. 6.3, 540. And then I have a little note section there. So if I wanted to, if I was out of range on pH, I could just write down next watering, pH to 6.7. If I'm about 5.9, then I'll bring it up. And then I can also dictate whether or not I want to do a flush or a feeding. So if my ppms are really high and I want to kind of wash those out a little bit, I'll do a flush. I'll write that down so I can adjust accordingly. So with those numbers, we're looking very good, in range where we're supposed to be. So that tells me it was in fact overwatering. So once those pots dry out a little bit, we're going to be within range, and those plants are going to start growing vigorously again. We should be good. So that is the slurry test. If you guys have any questions, please post them in the comments. If you did like this video, find it helpful, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. It'll help my channel a lot. So this is Twin Cities Peppers checking out. I hope you guys have a good one, and we'll see you next time.